A Complete Unknown comes out Christmas Day, but luckily AMC was nice enough to give us a sneak preview with a really great Q&A after the film by the director James Mangold and the cast. I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front that I absolutely love this movie, and I'm going to give you 10 reasons why you should see this amazing film, and I'll talk about a couple things that maybe could have made it perfect. So let's go. A Complete Unknown is the biopic that follows Bob Dylan arriving in New York City in 1961, where he is literally a complete unknown, playing in folk bars and pretty much relying on his new girlfriend to feed him and house him. The film leads up to his meteoric rise in 1965, where he plays his very controversial performance at the Newport Folk Festival, ditching the acoustic folk for the sound of rock and roll and electric guitar. This film is directed by James Mangold, who barely escaped Hollywood jail after the last Indiana Jones film, but who isn't a stranger to musical biopics, with his Johnny Cash film Walk the Line, starring a very, very impressive performance by Joaquin Phoenix. Say what you will about James Mangold, but he is a very diverse director, with movies like Logan, Copland, Girl Interrupted, 3:10 to Yuma, and now he's doing a James Gunn DC universe of The Swamp Thing. This guy has skills, and he shows it in this film. So I talked about 10 reasons why you should see this film, and number one is the most obvious reason: Timothée Chalamet's performance. It is by far the best representation that I have ever seen of someone playing a real celebrity or musician. I enjoyed Joaquin Phoenix again as Johnny Cash, and Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman, to me, is as close to someone really becoming that person in Man on the Moon. But Timothée Chalamet, I mean, wow. I want to say that 95% of the time, I didn't even see Timothée Chalamet. I saw Bob Dylan. I don't know if I've ever experienced anything like that before. Dylan is a very hard person to play without it sounding like a parody, but Chalamet absolutely nails it. It is a perfect performance. His humble beginnings in the beginning of this movie to his harder personality after the fame hits him are played with so much depth and a believable presence, almost like he's experienced himself. His facial expressions, his awkwardness, his coolness. Dylan has always been a quirky person, especially in interviews, giving basic answers to interviewers, being very difficult.
I was going to ask you whether you're, in your songs you sing out.
Yes, I do.
And whether in your conversation...
Well, the songs are what I do.
cultivate...
You see, the songs, though, is what I do.
Yeah.
Is write the songs and sing them.
And Chalamet plays these scenes in the movie beautifully, with style and charm while being kind of a jerk sometimes. And his singing is so dead on that as someone who's listened to Dylan for years, I had a really hard time telling the difference between him and the real Dylan. He performs like 40 songs in this movie, live, and they are all incredible and dead on Dylan. I can't imagine a world where he doesn't win an Oscar for this performance. Reason number two, the singing from everyone in this movie, from Edward Norton as folk legend Pete Seeger, Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez, and Boyd Holbrook, who was so much fun to watch as Johnny Cash, especially when he points that guitar at the audience. Norton sings a rendition of In the Jungle with the crowd singing the Awimawet part, and it's endearing and so much fun. And during that performance, I had this huge smile on my face. There's so many surprising performances that I actually want you to experience them on screen for yourself and not listen to me trying to describe them, because honestly, I can't. They were that good. So reason number three, Edward Norton is Pete Seeger. Norton is a great actor, but this character is so different for him. He's the sweet, encouraging mentor to Dylan, who fears change and is the juxtaposition of Dylan. He plays Seeger's innocence perfectly, and even though he doesn't nail the character perfectly or the real person, he's incredibly fun to watch, and his singing performances are absolutely incredible. So reason number 4, Boyd Holbrook is Johnny Cash. I mean, he looks like him, he sounds like him, he sings like him, he even walks like him, and I wanted more of him in this movie. He's almost like a spirit guide for Dylan. But man, did I enjoy watching his performance. He has some great lines in this film. Reason number 5, the look of this film. It looks and feels like this Dylan album cover. If this movie was in smell-o-vision, it would smell like New York in winter. It would smell like vinyl records, cigarettes, and black coffee. The tones and colors are beautiful, and it feels like a postcard sent to you by 1960. It feels like an actual folk song in the beginning, and then it starts to transition into what feels like a rock song, and you see and feel that transition within the movie. Reason number 6, the set design and costumes. Dylan's clothes are classic Dylan, from his humble look with his cap and coat to his celebrity sunglasses and black suit. The streets feel like the 1960s, and the concerts are believable and so much fun to watch. There's a beautiful scene in a Chinese restaurant that has this circular interior with a circular bar around the chefs. It was so unique and a beautiful addition to the scene itself. So reason number 7, the message of what the movie is about, or messages really. The movie is about, first and foremost, reinvention. The contrast between Seeger and Dylan and playing electric guitar at the folk festival, elevating his sound. People in the crowd holding on to tradition, not really listening to Dylan's rock, only wanting his folk sin, being stuck in the past. The message of being true to yourself and knowing yourself. Dylan hates what people want him to be.
There are people in that room, and each one wants me to be somebody else. They should just let me be.
Let you be what?
Whatever it is they don't want me to be.
And he refuses being confined to that box. You see it in his clothing where he wears black and the black sunglasses, almost trying to hide his real personality from people. The feeling this movie gives you is number 8. Within the first 10 minutes, I was smiling. It catches you off guard a lot. It's funny, it's cool, and at times heartbreaking. I felt so good after seeing this movie. I felt satisfied emotionally, even though it's kind of open-ended, but still, it closes out that chapter of Dylan's life really well. Reason number 9, the writing. Written by Mangold and the amazing James Cox, who's also written films like Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York in Silence. He wrote The Age of Innocence. He's also the one who came up with the iconic Star Wars in a Galaxy Far, Far Away opening. Johnny Cash has one of my favorite lines in this movie, and when you hear it, you'll know it. I'm not going to ruin it for you here. Just go check it out. And reason number 10, and probably my favorite reason, it was approved by the man himself. And if you don't know, Dylan is a pretty critical guy. He's not the easiest guy to please, but he loved what Mangold did with the script based off the book Dylan Goes Electric by Elijah Wald. He had many conversations with Mangold and Chalamet and approved the film all the way through to the end. And that gives it sort of a validity. For all those reasons, you should go out this Christmas and see this movie. It's going up against Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, and honestly, you'd be completely satisfied either way with either film, but A Complete Unknown is probably going to give you more of a warm, fuzzy feeling on Christmas that Nosferatu probably won't. It's kind of dark. Just saying. So a few things that could have been better. I wish Mangold would have been a little bolder with his camera movements. I mean, I don't want Baz Luhrmann, what he did in Elvis, that's kind of chaotic, but I felt that more camera movement could have accentuated the story just a little more here. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautifully shot film, but it didn't take a lot of risks for a movie about taking risks. I also would have liked a little more depth from Elle Fanning's character, Dylan's first girlfriend, Sylvie Russo, who is actually Susie wrote Tolo, who is also on Dylan's first album cover. Why he changed the name of Susie to Sylvie, I'm not quite sure, but her character doesn't have a lot to work with besides being used and heartbroken by Dylan. I really enjoyed what Elle Fanning brought to the character, and I felt for her. I think that there were so many players in a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes long that it was kind of difficult to work in 4 or 5 years of Dylan's life. Which brings me to the liberties that they took with the actual events. There are quite a few things that didn't happen the way that they actually did. People that he met in certain places that he actually didn't meet here or there. But, I mean, that kind of thing is what you get with a movie that's 2 hours and 20 minutes. It had to take a lot of those liberties. And it didn't really bother me for the type of movie that this was. You don't get a lot of what's behind Dylan in a deeper sense as a person. Dylan is still a mystery at the end of this movie, but I kind of like that. Dylan is a mystery, and that's kind of the fun of Bob Dylan, is the not knowing, which I admit is kind of strange for a bio on Bob Dylan, but to me it made it more enjoyable and kind of fun. So for these 10 reasons and so many more that I don't really have time to mention here, I'm giving A Complete Unknown 4.5 stars out of 5. I want to see this movie again, and I mean like right now. I really wanted to give it a 5, but there were a few things. So let me know if you're planning to see this movie over the Christmas holiday, or what movies you are planning to see at the theater, or streaming for that matter. Talk to me about the performances in this film in the comments below. I really want to know what you guys think. And remember, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.
I'm not sure they want to hear what I want to play, Johnny.
I want to hear it.